Welcome, 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 everybody. This is USFanTV. Just a few days short of our 2-year anniversary, and just about 1 week. Actually, I think it's 1 week exactly until the start of qualifying in the Women's World Cup qualifying for the U.S. National team, for the women's national team, I should say. I don't remember if I said Women's World Cup qualifying, but World Cup qualifying for the women. And I will note that there are kind of some interesting things, I guess, going on today, or at least this week, with potential that Oscar Pareja has interviewed with U.S. Soccer, or maybe he didn't. And then Tata Martino maybe is leaving MLS, and maybe he's not. But first, we'll start off by saying, welcome, TJ. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Chris. How you doing tonight?
Uh, what the hell?
Hey,
Good
well,
enough, right?
yeah, well, all right. That's a good show. Let's end it while we're ahead here. Before we, well, we've been on for what? We've been on for about a minute, so it's time to make fun of Pat. And what the hell did you do in the contract negotiations to piss him off this time?
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. Yeah, I should note. Yeah, Hat Guy may be joining us later. Something's going on that he's has to attend to right now. So he may or may not join us at some point. We shall see. So in his place, in his stead, we have Hat Guy number two.
Well, we've got to keep the tradition up of somebody wearing a hat. And
Yeah,
with hair like yours that Kyle Martino's even jealous of, we got to let you show your hair off there.
I
That
work
guy
hard
is
at this.
sketch.
Sketch AF. Damn straight.
Sketch Air
All right,
Force.
so why don't we kick it off here with the newest of the news? Oscar Pareja perhaps has interviewed with U.S. Soccer. The news the other day, 2 days ago, said that he had, and was promptly followed up by Yahoo Sports Report saying he had not. So we're a little bit back to step one with our coaching search.
Or are we? I mean,
Who the
I
hell knows?
my guess is there was conversations with his representatives in some capacity, or there were offhand meetings between him and Ernie Stewart in passing, something along lines, gauging his interest. Would he be interested in the job? To me, he makes sense as a front runner. He seems to check all the boxes that Ernie Stewart is looking for. He's a fine coach, as far as MLS goes. Would he be good globally? My guess is he probably would. He seems to have Dallas year in and year out, top of the table, and with a team that doesn't spend a ton of money, that's usually a pretty good sign. He knows how to get people in the right places, doing the right things in the right headspace. I think he'd be fine. Is he gonna excite the hell out of everybody? No. But then again, neither did Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena, I guess, probably would have excited soccer Twitter on his first go round because he was the most accomplished coach. Bob Bradley didn't, though. Bob
No.
Bradley did just fine.
That
So
said, Bradley might have been more engaging for national team fans if he hadn't been sort of a backdoor choice because everyone knew we were going for Klinsmann.
are you talking? No. Oh, well, they chased Klinsmann. Was that you're talking when they first started chasing
Yeah, yeah,
Klinsmann,
yeah, yeah,
like 50 years ago? It seems like.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when it was the beginning uh, of that push for him, when all the rumors were we were going to get him, um, like straight off of his time with Germany, and then we kind of backed into Bob. Yeah, it seemed like a letdown. That said, it wasn't in the end. I Part of me, I mean, I'll get to a question about Bob Bradley in a second. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wonder to some extent if kind of the PR of it had looked better, if Bob wouldn't have been a more exciting choice off the bat. I think it was just coming from I don't know, coming from an arena team that didn't really fare well, and then you had the potential of a much better Germany team, and here was their coach coming in. Yeah, things didn't look good. So anyway, yeah, I would agree about Pareja. He seems to be good at developing talent, and while there's not a lot of development necessarily at the national team level, there is a requirement that you're able to spot talent that perhaps isn't otherwise called up, and that could be that could certainly come in handy for our national team going forward.
Well, to piggyback off that with Pareja specifically, obviously FC Dallas must be their academy system or however they're acquiring players. They have an eye for talent. You know he's involved with that. He's got to be involved with that at some level. It's not you don't do that in a vacuum. I don't think so. Um, there is a lot of talent. I think and again, the fact that he's worked with so many younger players, he would be good at getting them in the right headspace. And I think that's going to be as important with these young players, especially the first time they're really punched in the mouth in a game that matters. Brazil beat them. That's not a game that mattered. So, I mean, what happens in a game that actually matters? When they go into Costa Rica and have batteries thrown at them for 90 minutes, when they go to Mexico City and get bombed with piss repeatedly. Say what you will about playing in Europe. Oh my gosh, it's the hardest thing ever. I don't think in terms of hostility, maybe going to Russia and maybe Turkey, you're going to see some of that hostility. Greece. But these guys that are playing in Germany, playing in France, playing in England, I don't think you see near the hostility you're going to see there. And when you're punched in the mouth by some of those teams that are pretty good, you've got to know how to react. And I think Pareja would be fine with that. That said, do I think he's necessarily the best choice? I would, if I out of you coaches in MLS, the choice of him or Greg Berhalter, I'm fine with either one of them. I think they both would do a fine job. They both seem to have a good eye with working with young players and talent and moving in the right direction. Now, you mentioned earlier, I think it was with Bradley, that he wasn't an exciting coach, or somebody mentioned that he's a much better coach than he was. His first year in MLS, he won MLS Cup and the US Open Cup, won the US Open Cup, 2 years later. He had a pretty solid resume going already. I think he just went to New York. Didn't he go to New York under Alexi Lawless? And I mean, that's the kiss of death for everybody.
Yeah, I think that is correct. Yeah, because that was where Michael Bradley got his first playing time too. Um, it's see, I was holding on Bradley because I was going to bring up Tata Martino first, but my question, I pose this maybe a little bit to get a response, is Bradley perhaps the second best coach in MLS?
No,
I mean, I think it's fair to say he's a better coach than he was when we hired him the first time.
True. I mean, but then again, that's like saying is 40-year-old Chris smarter than 30-year-old Chris? The answer is absolutely. You're that much wiser. You've experienced that much more. You've seen that many more instances, and you know how to do it. I mean, you're talking somebody who this is 20 years later from when he first started with the Chicago Fire. I mean, you're almost 20 years from that now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, of course he's going to be he should be a better coach as long as he keeps up tactically. And the fact that he's been moving around the world, yeah, he obviously has kept up tactically with that. Because some guys, they get locked in their system and then eventually it passes them by. One, Jose Mourinho, would be a classic example of that.
Arsene Wenger.
Arsene Wenger's another one. Yeah. And Arsene Wenger kept up for a lot of years. It just seemed like the last probably 5 or 6, the changes, probably the more technology based, got him out of his comfort zone. Here's a question with Klinsmann.
I ask it, though, just before we move on, I ask it because I don't think anyone's really talking about him as a potential coach, but to a certain extent, why not? Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily want to go back to a previous coach again. That
That's
said,
why.
he had a pretty damn good tenure overall.
And you answered your own question in saying you don't want to go backwards again. And I don't think Ernie Stewart does either. I think at this point, yeah, would he be able to hold his own? Of course he would. But after the disaster it was Bruce Arena, you really don't want to go backwards. You need to go forward. You have coaches, I think, that will be just fine. And you have to look at Bradley's ability with younger players. I'm not sure he has that anymore. I'm not sure if he's going to be as adept with working with the kids as Pareja and Berhalter specifically would be. Quick aside on Klinsmann. Would a good analogy for Klinsmann being like the dog chasing the car, and then they finally caught him, and look what happened? Just a random thought there.
Yeah, I mean, Alexandra, this is my comment on Klinsmann, he had good ideas. His name and his persona are awesome for attracting players to come to the U.S. or to choose the U.S. when perhaps they have options to play elsewhere. That said, he wasn't strong tactically. He wasn't a good in-game manager. He could eventually get there. In friendlies, his fourth, fifth, and sixth subs were often spot on. His first three may have been poor choices, and he often needed those three because he screwed up the original lineup. So I I consider him a good ideas man, and I would love him to still, in a sense, be involved with U.S. soccer, if not for the history that comes with that. Anyway, I think that leads us to the guy many people think is the best coach in MLS, Tata Martino, and the
Is he though?
rumors that he has accepted what he
Is he?
yeah is he
No, and I'm gonna throw this question out. I'm gonna get called an MLS shill, and yes, I tomorrow's Friday, so it's payday, and I do get my Garber bucks on Friday. I get paid in TAM for those who are asking. But here's a question: he's got the most talented side. This isn't even a questionable area. They're not blowing everybody away. They got eliminated last year in the playoffs. He doesn't have a cup yet. Didn't win the Open Cup. He lost to the damn Chicago Fire in the Open Cup. I get it. He used a B squad. But hey, if he's this great coach, his B side should be able to beat the Chicago Fire because the Chicago Fire this year, let's face it, they're not
not
good.
good.
No.
They're what you
So
call not good. They're fair questions to ask. That said, the rumors are that he's going to Mexico when the season ends.
I don't think it's a money move. I honestly
To
Arthur
me,
Blank. If Arthur Blank wants to spend the money, he'll spend it. Obviously,
yeah.
he'll spend it.
He appears to not be afraid to do that. To me, it's more if it's true, and I know there's rumors saying it's not true. The story's kind of like Oscar Pareja interviewing with the U.S. My real problem is if this is settled, if he is going, my problem is that U.S. soccer has now lost a coach in your own domestic league to your biggest rival before you could find someone. And they can paint this however they want that, well, we're taking our time, we're looking for the candidate we really want. Maybe he wasn't number one anyway. Certainly his English capabilities are limited, and that's a problem. But
Bottom line
the
is
way you look at it is that your neighbor came in and got one of your coaches before you could. You know, the part I didn't note at the beginning of this show is we're now less than 2 weeks from the date which will live in soccer infamy, U.S. soccer infamy anyway. Uh, we've done nothing in that year. We still don't have a coach. We're now 10 months, I think, into Dave Sarachan. I can't remember exactly if he was named in December or January. But either way, we're getting close to 10 months that he's been in the job. Yeah, it must have been December because he would have been around for the January friendlies. But anyway, um, the, the idea that 10 months later we still don't have a coach, it's clearly, as we've talked about over the last few weeks, it's clearly down to an MLS coach the way they've held out. At this point, it has to be. And here you've got a guy with a great track record, a guy who's caught a lot of people's eye, a guy who's doing well in MLS, and maybe your biggest rival steals him after you already let their previous coach, who had MLS history and seemed to be open to the possibility of coaching the U.S., walk away a month ago or whatever it was when Osorio took the Paraguay job.
I'm convinced if any of the if
Oh, true. Sarachan was around in November. That's right. So we're now at what,
almost yeah.
10, almost 11th months?
Again, it's back to the same premise. You and I argue about this pretty regularly, and I probably argue with you and with Pat about this as well. Who cares? Do these games matter?
I understand they don't matter. That said, you want to see some kind of progress, especially when we've floundered as a nation, and you don't want to see that continue. And you'd like to see the fan base have some kind of
If you want to get the
feel
fan
good
base involved,
moment.
if you want to get the fan base involved, stop trying to rip them off every damn time. But that's
Oh
another.
yeah, that's another
That's. I
one.
mean, realistically, that's it. Bring in a coach. I lived in Arizona many moons ago when they brought in Wayne Gretzky as their coach. You know how many games it excited the fan base for? One. You know what matters? Results. Friendlies, they don't matter. They don't have games that matter until the Gold Cup next year. Who cares? Oh, they win a friendly against a B squad,
Yeah,
from where England or whoever. Great. Oh my God. No. It'll be exciting. It'll be fun, but it doesn't matter.
it certainly would help if they stopped trying to
But you want to get fans involved.
rob the fans
Stop
left and
trying
right.
to rob them blind on games that nobody gives a crap about.
Yeah,
That's where if you want to put them in, that's where you go for somewhere where you haven't been. Put them in a monster stadium and charge $10 a ticket and start trying to get people back engaged. That's the way. To me, that's how you do it, as opposed to charging $100 in a 9,000 seat venue, which the atmosphere looks good when it's full, but at the end of the day, they're all quiet because nobody can afford to do anything else because they just sold their first child to go to a friendly that's irrelevant. I mean, you drew 35,000 in a 90,000 seat stadium for Brazil. Cut the
yeah,
ticket prices in half. You fill the place.
yep,
And
yeah.
how many times have we talked about it? Hey, we should go to that game. How much are tickets? Nope. You and Pat are nice guys, but spending that much money and to hang out for a B rate or for a friendly it's not relevant. Not interested. I got more important ways. I got beer money. That's beer money, man. Let's face it for what it is. So, um,
I mean, as I think I've talked about on the show, I'm going to the England match in November, and I'm going to an Arsenal match a few days before. Arsenal, as most people know, have the most expensive tickets in England. I'm paying roughly the same price to attend the U.S. game in the American Outlaw section. Now, granted, I'm also in a supporter section for Arsenal, so there's some ticketing things there, but that make it not as expensive. But still, it's like it's costing just as much to go to a friendly that how many people are truly going to make?
I'm guessing because it's the United States and it's in England. I'm guess my what does England usually draw? Probably about 2/3 of Wembley.
Probably.
I'll say it'll probably be closer to 3/4. It won't be full, but it'll be
Yeah.
closer. But the seats will be empty. Will be the ones that are way down front, nobody can afford. So,
Yeah.
I mean, back on point though about talking about the coach. If they wanted Tata Martino, they'd open again. They'd find a way to pay him.
Look,
I don't think they're interested. I'm
if
not
they
saying he's
wanted
bad.
anyone, they could find a way to pay him.
They don't want
They don't seem to be making inroads with anyone. You know, Ernie Stewart said that Bearhalter wasn't necessarily the front runner and kind of made it sound like he wasn't really looking at him directly. But the list kind of keeps getting narrowed down here, and
but like you said, you can go pay for anybody. You want the right fit for somebody who wants to be there,
yeah,
and I think Tata Martino. I think he's still on holiday. I realistically do.
maybe,
He's a fine coach, obviously. He's proven that, but at the same time, I think he's still just on holiday until he's ready to go back to Europe and coach again.
maybe.
So I guess we'll know a lot more about Tata Martino if he hangs around, finishes the MLS season. If he ends up with MLS Cup, then maybe. But Christian, we'll get to the new USL. I think Chris has got an agenda, and then we'll come back to that one.
Anyway, I think that covers the coaches. So the women's team takes on Mexico next Thursday in Cary, North Carolina. That's the beginning of the CONCACAF Women's Championship. So it's World Cup qualifying. The crazy part about it, of course, is their third game, the final game of the opening round. The final game, note you, is on October 10th versus a certain team we have some history with, as the final qualifier on October 10th, Trinidad and Tobago. So hooray!
Wasn't
Um,
wasn't Trinidad and Tobago, just to correct me in this, and somebody in the chat box, if you guys remember, wasn't Trinidad the one that pretty much had to be GoFunded? You had to do GoFundMe to get them over here for qualifying. I want to say it was Olympic qualifying or something like that because their federation wasn't putting enough money in for this.
I don't know who it was, but that would make sense.
So
Yeah, Christian, all the qualifiers will be on TV. They're going to be on FS1 and 2, so you can't watch them. But yeah, the crazy part to me, I mean, look, the women's team qualifies on home soil, and they're already the best in the conference. Um, I don't think you have to worry about them qualifying here. But yeah, it's just kind of very darkly humorous that they will be playing Trinidad and Tobago TNT on October 10th.
I have a tendency to think if the result were to go south, I don't think your outrage would be nearly as high.
That's true. I might be willing to watch that show at some point, as I will never watch the one from last October 10th. But it would still be a pretty biting moment, and it would dredge up a lot of the memories of last year, which would just make everything worse. So yeah, not to say I'm ever not pulling for the women, but I will be like over the top pulling for the women that night.
I guess for me, I'm looking more forward to the Mexico game just because, again, I get it. It's women's soccer. The rivalry isn't nearly as strong, but a good Mexico beatdown is a good Mexico beatdown. It's kind of like whether it's the Brewers beating the Cubs, whether it's the Packers beating the Bears, the Bucks beating the Bulls. It's a good Wisconsin, Illinois, Chicago beatdown. There's something fun about that in that sense of the word. So same thing. Mexico's the rival. A good Mexico beatdown is always good. Is always good for the soul. So I'll
And
probably
then,
go ahead.
no, sorry, you can finish your thought.
Nah, it's me. It really doesn't. To answer
uh,
Christian's question, it's a repeat of Penn FC and the Riverhounds from last night because there is no live soccer on tonight. I really didn't feel like watching crappy college football. I watched SLU and Rhode Island women's soccer earlier tonight when I was on a conference call I really didn't want to pay attention to. So right now it's Penn FC and the Riverhounds.
Anyway, kind of, I guess, as a segue from the Women's World Cup, the final of the Women's World Cup will be the same day as the final of the Gold Cup for the men next summer. The Gold Cup final will be in Chicago, so I would assume USFanTV will be in attendance.
Well, that's the plan.
I think that's a pretty fair assumption.
It's a fair assumption.
Odd. I mean, I understand the decision to play them on the same date because after all, by timing wise, it'll probably work out that it's almost back to back. It still seems odd to me that that they would do it, however, that they wouldn't have I don't know, gone the day before or shifted the schedules a little bit so that you didn't see the championship of two tournaments for the men's and women's teams occur on the same day.
Oh, I think it was done intentionally by design. Presume the United States is playing in the Gold Cup final, which not 100% sure, but they seem to do well in the Gold Cup, especially in years it's irrelevant. Doing an event at Grant Park or something like that to showing of the Women's World Cup game, and then saying, "Hey, come on over to Soldier Field to watch the Gold Cup final." There's going to be a whole lot of cross marketing with some sort of an event that's at Grant Park, and make it a soccer day down in the city of Chicago. I don't see a problem with that. I know some people are butthurt saying it's the Gold Cup's taking away from the Women's Thunder. Why are they doing it? They're doing it for marketing and a chance to make money, and making both events. Exactly that, events. We're an event-driven society, and that way you can put the two together and make it, hey, you get a ticket for one, you get free admission to the other kind of thing, or however you want to do it. But that seems to me the point to me, is raising interest in a game that may not get a full crowd anyway.
Oh, really? The Copa America's finals on the same day too? Yeah, then that's stupid. That to me is just dumb because I mean, I realize that it's different networks, so they don't care as much. But yeah, that sucks that I'll have to miss something. But as we talked about before the show, the Women's World Cup final I think is at 5 o'clock in France, which I have to check based on when their time
So
changes are, but I think that puts the game at like 11 a.m. U.S.
if it's
Excuse me,
it's
Central, U.S. Central.
7 hour, it's 6 or 7 hours, so it'll be
It's 7 hours ahead right now. I think it's 6 at that time of the year because they're, well, I don't remember how their time works. I mean, I know roughly like British standard, but um, I don't remember exactly where how France matches up. So I don't know if it'll be 6 or 7 at that point, because I think at that point England, like London, would be 5 hours ahead of Central Time. I think that's right. Um, I can't remember as I'm talking, but anyway, that should end the game in early afternoon. Presumably, the Gold Cup finals 2 or 3 o'clock. I think that's roughly what it has been in the past, but again, I don't remember. But yeah, that sucks about the Copa America final. That could be, since it is South America, that could be a later in the evening game. In which
it's
case, you might
Brazil.
almost see like a triple header. In which case, I guess it works out. But um, if you've been at the game, it's going to be hard to watch a third game too.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
down a night game in Brazil down at Maracana. Yeah, I could see that being the way it finishes, but yeah, we'll know more when it gets closer. So
yeah, Alexandra, I would assume Argentina will not have Messi. Maybe he'll come for that because it is the Copa, and I think, I mean, he wants to win some kind of trophy for Argentina, but I think he also is understands that it's an unfair level of criticism that when they win, it's a team win. When they lose, it's Messi's fault, and I don't think I think like anyone, he's kind of grown tired of that.
would it be fair to say that the theme song for Messi is "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina"? I'm just throwing that one out there. Just with the way how things have played out. So
The truth is, I've never left you. Uh, Speaking of cups, I guess while we're on it, so Houston Dynamo win the Open Cup.
do, does does it really count if nobody's watching?
I was just gonna say, like, so the good news is one of the worst teams in MLS gets to play in CONCACAF Champions League next year. Hooray!
Yeah, but the next one was the Philadelphia Union. Really, it wasn't
Uh,
moving up much. And who was I don't know who Houston beat, but Philadelphia beat the Flyers. So you really were not looking at a whole lot of quality in the Open Cup, and at least in the semis. So,
it was a very open cup. But the other point of that is one DeMarcus Beasley adds another trophy to his case.
we discussed this on several shows. We all know
The
DeMarcus
man who will
Beasley
never
will be
retire.
playing on the on the U.S. national team for the next World Cup. So, um, I mean, did you watch the Open Cup last night?
I did not know.
What were you watching?
At this point, I can't even remember. Oh, I was watching the Brewer game, Brewers
Exactly.
Cardinals.
I mean, we're both soccer people, and neither one of us were watching. Now, if you follow soccer Twitter, and most of you probably do because you're here on a night that's irrelevant, you're going to sit there and they will rave about how it's USSF's fault that nobody is watching the FA Cup or the Open Cup final, but it's a Wednesday night. You're getting to the end of the baseball season. Kids got homework, kids got soccer practice, kids got school,
And
that's a hard
I'm
sell. That's a
sorry,
hard sell.
make it a more entertaining tournament then. Or I mean, I guess realistically, there's not a whole lot you can do there. But yeah, it wasn't like it was a lot of high quality teams near the end, so that you were really, I don't know, wanting to see like, oh well, this is just going to be good soccer. Like,
And it can be it's a cup final. It can be entertaining as hell if both teams are playing. Again, as we've discussed, typically the Europa League final is more entertaining than the Champions League final because the Europa League you're playing to win as opposed to not playing not to lose like you do in the Champions League. So it's a lot more wide open, and you see some more fun stuff. Um, that said, now what came away from the Open Cup, from what I've read, is um was Taylor Twellman at halftime. Was it Taylor Twellman at halftime? Was discussing, and he said that he thinks the lower division clubs should be hosting. So especially when MLS comes in, they're forced to go play at some
That
of the
yeah, that makes some sense. It would also probably help spread some of the finances around,
maybe. And I saw a
in theory
response.
at least.
It's an I love the idea, and you'd like to think they'd be great draws that everybody would show up to watch MLS teams, and in theory, in some of these teams they would. Um, but then again, as somebody I saw, I think Kartik had pointed out, you're talking about stadiums that they have to rent out,
Hmm.
open in the middle of the week on short scheduling notice, and then try and sell them. That's not always the easiest way to do it, especially now. I get it once MLS comes in and maybe even USL comes in, you can get away with that. But some of these earlier games, not as much. Nobody's going to go for some of these first round games that have like 50 people, and if you took away the players' families, their parents, you're down to maybe 3, and that's your supporter section. So I like the idea, but I think that only works, especially when you get to like the USL, MLS level, not the earlier rounds per se. And then ASL. Oh, never mind. So anyway, beat that one to death.
Yeah, probably. I was going to say something about oh, they're talking about Liga MX. Uh, somebody talked about how bad Liga MX is. I think it's to me it's an entertaining league because kind of anything can happen. Like beyond the fact that I've seen cats, dogs, and like all kinds of animals run out on the field in games, you also have this level of like every player is kind of trying to be the hero. And so you'll see like ridiculous shots taken or like ridiculous attempts at things. And every once in a while they pay off. And it's like, holy shit, how did he score that? But I mean, it can also, most of the time, it's probably like, why are you doing that? Don't, no, don't take, no. Yeah, this is why you don't take that shot. That was a dumb thing to do. But every once in a while it happens and you see these like 40-yard curling shots like over somebody's head that just beat the keeper because he was like, there's no way somebody's going to shoot from there. Um, so it's, to me, it's a fun league for that reason.
Again, as I've
I hate Chivas, but like,
well, most people do.
I'm a human being. Of course I hate Chivas.
Anybody in their right mind hates Chivas.
Yeah.
And let's call it for what it is. Again, league does not have to be the highest of quality to be entertaining. And I think back specifically to the 80s and the 90s. I know back when Italy was considered the best league in the world. But man, those games are boring as hell.
Because they were all fixed.
Well, there's that too. But
I shouldn't talk like it's the past. They're still all fixed.
well, there's that. But you get to such technical games that you get to a lot more defensive oriented and not as much wide open play. And like you said, you're not sure what's going to happen next in a Liga in a in Mexico. You might see a curling shot from 40 yards go top. You might see some of the dirtiest fouls you're ever going to
Yeah.
see.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like terrible, ridiculous fouls, horrible diving. Like there's so much just ridiculous stuff that goes on. That yeah, that part is kind of like man, like the stupid diving and stuff. That I would be fine if they would actually police that. Kind of if all of FIFA would truly police that. But yeah,
But the
there's
diving is like
crazy stuff that goes on that.
but the diving is like Crosby level of diving. Sidney Crosby level of flopping on the ice. It's amazing how bad some of them are, and that's just it. Especially when you hit the end of the night on a Saturday night when you're just sitting down drinking couple of a couple of beers. It's not a bad thing to have on because you never know what's going to happen next. Said you could see a fight, you could see a goal from it, or you could just see some boring ass soccer. You never know. So I'll defend it to that level. It's entertaining. It's the unknown is why I do enjoy it. And somebody could explain to me the pro rel system in Mexico, and I still wouldn't understand it. It's kind of like the salary cap in MLS and how TAM and GAM and FLAM and PAM work. I don't know. But again, it's kind of like hot dogs. The less I know about it, probably the happier I am at the end of the day.
Something about lips and assholes.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan Aykroyd, for that.
I guess other things of note. I think we've hit all the big stuff. So Pulisic continues to kind of light things up. He had an assist yesterday in their big blowout. Technically speaking, he kind of had two assists. He wasn't credited on the second one, and it's hard to tell. Like he touches the ball as he gets fouled, or so it appears. On the second, ball that he plays to that goes to Reyes, who scores. So he kind of had both the opening assists. I suppose he didn't maybe touch it with intent because he was being fouled. So he never got credited for the second one. But the first one's a beautiful pass to really open the defense there and open the scoring. Then he's doing more and more to be not just a goal scorer, but to be kind of a playmaker and to help other players be better. It's not like I just want to kiss his ass, but he's doing everything that you want a player to do, and that someone like the U.S. needs a player to do.
I'm going to take it off the rails for a second here. Saw Ryan Case post in our chat box. He's having a rough night. His friend died in a car crash. So definitely condolences.
Sorry, that's not good.
Definitely not good. We're glad you're with us. Hopefully we can make you laugh a little bit, kind of sidetrack you a little bit. Unfortunately, Hat Guy's not here because he's on strike or on holding out for more money. We're really not sure what he's doing. Or he could just be his wife having him do chores. We're really not sure what Hat Guy's doing tonight. So it was his show, and here we are carrying the weight for him. Anyway, Dortmund, Pulisic and Dortmund. It's finally, what is he? Is he 22 now, 21?
No, 20.
20. Okay, so
just turned 20.
As he gets older, they're giving him more responsibility, and you put him in a system that he works well. He's showing he can do it. Like he's a coach's kid and understands soccer a little bit. Huh. He's incredibly talented, and I love the fact that the discussions that you, Pat, and I had about should he stay at Dortmund, should he go somewhere else, and it seems like if Dortmund's going to use him in this capacity, I think it's great. I think it's a good fit for him. And yes, they are in second place, which is good. You always like to see that because let's face it, I like watching their games. Their games are more fun, especially with the yellow wall being what it is. But well, wait, they don't screw people over for tickets. We talked about that earlier.
There is a little thing about how Germany doesn't allow tickets to be more than a certain price. Must be nice.
So, yeah, I mean, so it's great to see. I guess it's good to see him healthy and able to contribute and not be nicked up. And again, but in terms of from the U.S. soccer perspective, that's outstanding to see him succeed at a club level. These games here, they're irrelevant. I'm guessing he'll show up for England because it's England and he'll want to play that. But aside from that, I'm not sure about any of the other ones. I see some chat going on about.
I'm kind of guessing a lot of the European-based players will make those games just because it's a short trip for them.
Sure.
England and Italy is the other one, right?
I don't know.
I can't think of it right now, but I think it is. Beyond that, good to see Weston McKennie back to training. We thought was going to be a very serious injury turns out it was just a bone bruise, basically, or deep muscle bruise. So he's already back to training. So hopefully he will be playing again soon. Schalke could use big things from him, considering they are bottom of the barrel and have absolutely no points so far. So, um,
Aren't they in Europe this year?
yeah, yeah,
That could
yeah.
be. No,
Not
not
a promising season for them so far.
Ryan. We did.
Luca,
Go
Luca
ahead,
Della
Ryan.
Torre finally got a goal at Fulham, got to play and got a goal in their Carabao Cup game. Oh, against Millwall. And Tim Ream has returned for Fulham as well. But I think for most people, it's probably more exciting that Della Torre got playing time and got a goal.
So that the what is it called? The Carlsberg Cup. Carlsberg.
Carabao.
It's the League Cup, right?
Yeah,
It's the one
yeah,
that when everyone's when they're eliminated, everyone's like, "Well, thank God we're eliminated. Now we can concentrate on things that are important."
yeah.
And yet,
Yeah,
at the same
it's
time,
the least important of the cups, but
it's still a
it still
cup.
offers a trophy.
Yeah, it is. Um,
Yeah, Christian Sargent is getting. It seems closer and closer to Bayern's first team. Their coach has said
God, I hope it's not
he's.
Bayern. Damn,
Oh, did I say Bayern? I
you said
meant.
Bayern, dude.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I meant Bremen. Um, Bremen's coach has said they know what they have with him. He's going to be here soon. So, um, it. I think everyone's watching with bated breath, but yeah, hopefully we'll see him suiting up for Werder Bremen soon.
Yeah, you keep scoring goals in the other games, they're going to give you a run out at some
Yeah,
point. You kind of force the hand by being successful. It's the same, unless you're the top prospect in the White Sox system, Eloy Jimenez, and you're hitting 350 in AAA. They're going to eventually find a way to bring you up and at least see what you can do. Like I said, unless you're Eloy Jimenez or Chris Bryant when he was in the Cubs system and they want to keep you down for another year of arbitration. That's another story. Um, Ryan, yeah, we did talk about Pareja. Yes, the answer is right. I'm okay with him. I think he's a good coach. I think he'd be fine with the national team. Um, what else we got? USL rebrand. Do we want to talk about that short?
yeah, go for
Did
it.
you catch any of that, or did you just not care?
I know of it a little, but certainly that
Yeah,
would be down to you to to
sure.
discuss
Me and the three people who actually care about.
something like
Basically,
that.
USL did a rebrand. Instead of it being USL, USL D3, and the PDL, it's now the USL Championship, USL League One, and USL League Two. They're uniting under one umbrella. Their hype video was pretty solid. I'll give them credit. Their marketing people know what they're doing in that sense. And then, of course, if you're too European, then you're just called ripping it off. If you're not European enough, it's you're not paying and you're not kissing the ring of European soccer enough. So you're in a no-win situation. Does it matter? No, it's still USL. It's still, but it is soccer. In the conversation with Jake Edwards, who's the head of USL, he said, "This does what does that mean? They're looking at pro rel right now? No. Eventually, if they can get stability in the D3, then they will start looking at it. But D3 is opening up brand new next year. You don't have that stability yet. When you get stability, then that's something you could look at going forward. And I'm guessing 10 years from now, if they still think pro rel is a viable option, and it'll be curious to see if in 5 to 10 years it even isn't anything people consider, because I still think Europe's going to be completely done with it or close to done with it by then. Um, then I would think they would be looking at it, at least internally within the three. So that's kind of the basics of it. They call it the USL Championship now instead of just USL, which before that it was USL Pro. Before that it was A League. I mean, how many different names does it have to have?
It was a league.
Um, let's see what other things that came out with that. I think I saw today. It sounds like Minnesota United's USL. Its USL team is going to be the Madison D3 team. They're looking at making it their affiliate, which would kind of make sense. I mean, Minnesota expanding into Wisconsin and trying to take up some of that territory, especially when the Fire are absolute crap. It makes some sense.
There is that.
So I think that's a good move, and if Peter Wilt makes that happen, good for him. I think that's a great move for both Madison and for Minnesota United. I mean, I think Minnesota United right now, their academy system, Minnesota in the state of Minnesota, Sporting KC has academy presence up there because Minnesota United didn't exist. So um, FC Cincinnati won the USL League. I guess they're the regular, they won the supporter shield or whatever they call it in USL. But then again, they've already started picking up MLS quality like Adi and a couple others or whatever. So they're already would they win otherwise? Yeah, they probably would have otherwise. But I think that's the rest of everything I can think of. Oh, Zidane to Miami. Forgot about that one.
Ah, yes. Um, what do we
It makes sense.
look? I assume yes that Golden Ball's team is going to have big names to sell a team he wants to be a big name. I don't know. I still want to see everything in place before I truly believe anything. But
My what is it? Inter Miami? Is that what they're called?
yes,
Okay, I forget. It may change again.
I
And
would
don't they
be
have?
all right if MLS would finally stop with the like aping European leagues in there or European teams in their team naming, team branding system.
Anonymity, I would 5-1 odds Zidane headbutts all his MLS players playing like crap. I would put odds better that I think that the Zlatan just pummels somebody on his own team just for the heck of it might happen first.
Will the Zlatan stay in LA?
He seems to be enjoying it. What was it? There was a picture today of him with Mickey Mouse, and he said Mickey Mouse and Goofy. Is on his Twitter feed. I think he enjoys LA. If there's one place he needs to conquer, that's it. I think he's looking beyond, be in LA, make LA a big deal again. You look at TV opportunities, you look at stuff like that, and yeah, I think he can go down the street and nobody cares. Especially if you go around the Scientology Center, because then you're looking for Tom Cruise and the rest of the whack jobs around there. So
I don't care. You can call Zlatan overrated. The
he's
guy,
Zlatan.
the guy scores amazing goals, and I don't know. You can say like I've heard people complaining about like his shtick. Like after someone asked if he'd met LeBron, and he said no, he has not met me or something like that. No, he's not met the Zlatan or something. Like I heard people say that oh that's old and played out. I to me it's a bit like Chuck Norris jokes. Like maybe you don't need to hear them constantly, but they still make you laugh even years later because you understand it's stupid. Like it's clear he's in on the joke. I don't know how much is truly his ego and he knows that if he winks and smiles, he can sell that he's a giant prick, but whatever,
It's the Zlatan. Who cares?
yeah.
It's saw Sandra show up. Guten Tag, Sandra. Wie geht's? So I've been called a Scientologist and the Illuminati tonight. And it might be the reason Pat's holding out for all I know. So maybe the one of those true? Yeah, I
Freemason.
guess. Maybe. Hard to say. So what else do
All
we got
right.
going? I'm a
Uh,
Freemason. Sweet.
Sebastian Soto has done well for Hanover's U19 team. We'll see how that continues, but yeah, it's a positive start. Beyond that, I think we've probably covered it all tonight. You got any final thoughts, TJ?
Nah, I really got a whole lot of nothing tonight. The fact that we've made it almost an hour or 40 minutes on a whole lot of nothing. It's not a
Yeah,
bad.
pretty
It's not a
much.
bad show.
All right. Well, in that case, thanks everybody. You are watching USFanTV. As you know, we are on YouTube because you're watching us, but we're also on Facebook, Twitter, the internets, um, Instagram,
Chris is on Snapchat.
Snapchat, back pages, wherever
Craigslist.
else people always
Craigslist,
say
right? If
Craigslist. Yeah.
Craigslist, if we know how to find it.
Um, if you know where to find us. Check us out. We're here every Tuesday or Thursday. Thursday. We are approaching our second anniversary, so hooray! Welcome. Thanks for returning, everyone. Um, we will have to note that I think it's coming up on Tuesday, so I think we'll have to note that on Tuesday's show. Maybe we'll bring some
Wasn't it
props or something.
the 10th, or didn't Pat say the 10th?
No, no, the 10th is
Oh, that's right. No, it is. Yeah,
the,
then it is
the day
Tuesday.
which will live in infamy.
I see.
Um,
I see. We're only at 1,300 subscribers. We need 1,500 so we can do the Ask Me Anything show.
yeah. So tell all your
So
friends.
tell your friends, even if they don't ever watch, and if they watch, even better. But hey, 1,500 subscribers, we'll do an Ask Us Anything show. So,
And on that note, you're done. Thanks, everybody.